For all the negative headlines, Hollywood keeps pushing forward. Today's guest, Rich Freeman, has survived decades in Hollywood. No easy feat. Let's talk about how producing in Hollywood really works. Rich, welcome to the spotlight.
Hey, Bobby. It's a long time no see. Good to see you.
Well, look, I miss our lunches in Los Angeles. And full disclosure, we're buddies in real life. But I actually think you're sort of like one of Hollywood's best secrets because you really have so much experience, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. But let's start right at the beginning of your career. How did you actually get started in Hollywood?
It's something that I was even when I was in college. The way I got started was I loved movies. That was the start of it. I mean, everything from Casablanca initially, and Citizen Kane, and Metropolis, and the John Ford movies, etc. I was always fascinated how that was all put together. So, ironically, I was studying history in college, something that I was not going to use. And so when I graduated, I moved back to where I originally grew up, which is Boston,
Mm.
and started working in physical production, working on film, television, mostly commercials, corporate videos, industrial films, and documentaries, and caught the bug and did that for 5 years. I was production assistant. I did some AD work. I was doing a lot of production coordinating. I even did a lot of grip and electric work in
Wow.
those days, but you couldn't really make a living there. And if you're not going to give it a shot and go to LA, why are you doing this? So that's what drove me to pack my bags and go to Los Angeles. And when I got
Mm.
there, I realized how insulated and difficult physical production jobs were to get in those days.
Right.
So I drew up a resume and asked, I had to set up, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 informational interviews of people that I knew in LA. And people said, you should start at an agency, at a talent agency, which is exactly what I did. And applied to few different agencies and ended up at a company called Writers and Artists Agency, which was a
Mm.
mid-sized agency at the time. And my
And I mean,
career
this
really
is one of the most respected agencies in Hollywood.
It was a very, very well respected mid-sized agency. The owner, a woman named Joan Scott, had been around since the late '60s, early '70s, and
Mm.
very great, very good reputation. It was a company of about 75 to 100 people, so like I say, mid-size. But what was great about that was it was a little more of a wild west time in the '90s. So for a guy like me, I could be an assistant and be a go-getter and make advancements quicker than you could at some of the biggest agencies. And that's
Right.
what happened for me. Fortunately, I found a writer that I was passionate about when I was an assistant and told the owner of the company that I thought I was ready to make the jump to
Mm.
becoming an agent. And she questioned that a little bit. And I said, let me prove it. And luckily enough for me, the very first script that I tried to sell in Hollywood as a literary agent, I'd only been at the agency for a year. I sold for a lot of money to a major studio, and that's really what kicked off the career as an agent. I became an
Amazing.
agent the next day.
Well, and then you haven't stopped, since, right? Look, we only have a minute left, but then you became a prominent literary agent, you became a prominent literary manager. Like, how did that transition go? You're from Boston, you're working in production, you're an assistant, now you're an agent, and look at all that you've done since. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, and after the sale of the script, the town opens up to you. People want to
Mhm.
get to know you, and that's what happened. My schedule was empty as a agent of 5 minutes, and when I made the script sale, breakfast, lunch, and dinners became full for the next 3 or 4 months, and that's really what happened. What
Mhm.
drove me to management really was I wanted to do something a little more entrepreneurial and
Mhm.
something for myself and wanted to get involved in producing. And that's not something at the agency that I ended up at, which was the Paradigm Agency, which bought writers and artists. I wasn't
Mhm.
able to do as much of that as I wanted. And that's why I went into management.
Right,
So,
And that's another major agency in Hollywood. I mean, you've done so much. You're so humble. Okay, Rich, let's go to commercial. But I can't wait to share more of your journey. We've got Rich Freeman for 3 more segments on the spotlight. Welcome back to the spotlight. I'm here with Rich Freeman. Okay, Rich. I mean, honestly, we do need like a 98-hour show, the lives and times of of Rich Freeman, because you really are a fascinating guy and you've done so much stuff. But let's talk about your newest project, The Mongoose.
Sure, sure. The Mongoose is an action movie starring Liam Neeson and Ving Rhames and Marissa Tomei and Michael Chiklis.
Mm,
Uh, it's basically the story. Liam Neeson plays an ex Special Forces soldier who is divorced from Marissa Tomei's character, but they still maintain a relationship. And Marissa Tomei's new relationship, her husband, is abusive. And in a confrontation, Liam's character ends up killing the abuser of Marissa Tomei's character, and
mm,
he goes on the run. And he's on the run from his past, from the breakup that he's had with Marissa's character, and uh, and his own demons from the war and the soldier that he lost,
mm.
that he was commanding. And it's a race to the border for freedom and running away from, but really coming to terms with his war experience. And that,
Okay.
yeah. So, and the way that came together really quickly was we had worked with Liam Neeson on 2 movies prior, called The Ice Road. One was called The Ice Road. The second one was called The Ice Road Vengeance. And so we approached him on this one, uh, mostly because we've just had a great run with him for the 2 movies. And
Mm,
he wanted to work with his stunt coordinator, second unit director, who he'd had a relationship with and close working relationship with for many, many years, and wanted to find something to do with him. So he gave the script to that person. His name's Mark Vansilo, who ended up being the
mm.
director of the film. And the movie came together within weeks. It was really very unusual that these movies don't come together like that.
Okay, let me jump in for a second because I know that you've worked with Liam Neeson on several occasions, and you went into it like how that happened. So as I understand it, and you've actually taught me a lot, like, thank you so much over the years. But Hollywood is a town of relationships, right? So is it really like not just anyone can just get Liam Neeson over and over again? You have to have that trust and those people in common, right?
Right. And initially, we didn't have the relationship with Liam, but
Mm,
the initial Ice Road script, that we actually shot in Manitoba, uh, um, uh, the director, Jonathan Hensley, of that project, had a really good vision. And when you have money to make these movies independently, it gives you a little leg up with the agencies. And my company Code has money, and we were making offers. And my partner, Al Corley, had a good relationship with Liam's agent. And
mm,
so when we got the script over, we also sent an offer. And we had sent other scripts to Liam he had passed. But in this particular case, he actually wanted to meet the director. The director locked him in, and we had a great experience. And we've wanted to do it with him since, and he's wanted to do it with us. And that was started in 2018. So it's been now like an 8-year relationship.
It's interesting too, right? And that's been my experience in Hollywood too. Like I have an agent and a manager there, and it's interesting how like proximity. It doesn't mean you even know the person directly, but if you have a good relation with their rep, their agent, their manager, their publicist, their lawyer, or something, it seems like those have an underrated amount of power in Hollywood. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, very accurate. I mean, it's very hard to go around the reps, and oftentimes it's frowned upon, and it
Hmm.
will make your life more difficult
Mm,
to go outside the reps. But at the same time, once we established the relationship with Liam, and then agent knows that we have that relationship with him, and knows that on certain things we'll go direct, we can now, and that's
mm,
made a huge difference. That made a big difference on the Mongoose.
mm,
Uh, we didn't go to directly to. We certainly included the agency. There's no question about that. Wanted their support, but initially we went directly to Liam with the script. So when you can shortcut it like that, it does make things a little easier. I say that it's very difficult to do that, and I don't think the average person off the street who has a script can,
Right,
just
right,
call up an agency. Yeah, call up an agency and say, "Can we get Liam Neeson or whoever that movie star is and get a read?" They want the
right.
offer. They want to know when it's shooting and when it's going. Is it real? So that's what the main thing that you have to be able to show.
Look, we got to go commercial. Rich, I'm just so excited to have you. You really are a fountain of knowledge. I've got two more segments with Rich Freeman on the spotlight. Welcome back to the spotlight. I'm here with Rich Freeman. Okay, Rich, let's talk about Hollywood. There's been a lot of doom and gloom since the strikes. I mean, I think we hung out a little bit during the strikes. That was 4 years ago, and everybody thought everything was going to be amazing. Everyone's going back to work, and instead, you just, you know, as much as maybe 50% of the jobs have disappeared in the last 4 years. So I guess my question is for someone like you who really is in it. I don't know what's real, what's not real. What do you think of the current production environment in Hollywood right now?
It's very difficult. It's better than it was. You're right. We had a perfect storm of COVID, uh, and two strikes, and then the Palisade fires. That did not help anything. We also had a period of overproducing. So there was some great times in the 2015 to about the COVID period, but studios and networks really overproduced and they started to contract. And that was a major issue. The other issue that we have been finding, particularly for LA production, super expensive to shoot here in the city. We find tax rebates and tax credits outside of California to be more advantageous in able to make these projects for a better price than we do in really expensive locales like California or New York. They're working on fixing that. There's been a big tax rebate program, but that's really what it comes down to, Bobby, is they want to places, us included, in studios, the big studios too. They're shooting in Australia, they're shooting in
Right,
tax rebate places in Europe and in Canada and other places
right.
that are better than in California. And that's really hasn't changed that much. The stages are really quite empty here in the city and it needs to be fixed. So they're working on it, but we've got some ways to go.
Right, and look, I mean, the economy really for everyone around the world has been challenging, but specifically for the studio system, I mean, we're now let's call it the age of consolidation, right? You see all these mergers. You see, studio like two or three big studios are now one studio, and like, so how is this impacting the climate in Hollywood?
Again, I wish I could say it was better, uh, and hopefully it'll work itself out. But it's not an easy situation here.
Mm,
A lot of these big studios, as a result of this consolidation and contraction, are laying people off. You're seeing it
mm,
every day. When the result of the Warner Brothers Paramount merger is going to be a lot of people lose their jobs.
mm.
Uh, Netflix went through a round of this. Disney's gone through a round of this. Sony has cut back significantly. So it's not the greatest environment. I think it's going to get better. These things always do turn. I've seen this happen before in town, but we are in a down period that is going to take some time to get better and work off the existing projects that have
Mm.
been in development for a long time and that are now just getting off the runway. So more new development can exist.
Right, and there's also, let's call it the A word, where, sometimes I'll write on threads about AI and everybody hates me, so I just stop writing about AI. But the reality is AI is already starting to make an impact and people are really predicting it's going to make more of an impact. I'm not really sure. Your boots on the ground in LA. So what sort of impact do you see AI making?
Yeah, I I I personally think that it's slightly overblown, but it's going to be important. There's no doubt about that. I don't think AI can replace writers. They can do certain things that will shortcut the process. But as an example, like I happen to know that it's not great. It's somewhat frustrating, but studios are now generating AI notes. They're not actually reading these scripts, some of these executives, and that can be
What?
a little frustrating. You can tell that. But where I think AI is really going to be a key is in the visual effects area, able to make movies look better and do it for a price, so you can make these big expensive movies for a better price. I think that's really where the advantage is going to be. I don't know if I buy into this whole idea that there's going to be a you can license AI, Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, and make a
Right.
movie without the actual actor. I don't think that's going to take hold, but there's no question it's here to stay. We've got to figure out a way as an industry to adapt.
Yeah, look, I know you're a straight shooter, and I actually I think that's the best take I've heard in a really long time, right? Because you're really balanced, right? You're like, well, you can save some money. I don't, you don't think it's going to replace the creative, but it is there. Let's just go for one more segment. We've got Rich Freeman on the spotlight. Welcome back to the spotlight. I'm here with Rich Freeman. Okay, Rich, look, this is segment four. Really, we should have 35 segments, but we only got four. I couldn't afford, your per diem, unfortunately. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the future of Hollywood here. Look, we can't just describe every single thing that Hollywood's going through, but you're one of the guys that I know in Hollywood that I trust, who has really fought a lot of wars for decades. And to be honest, I think you're one of the most successful people I know. Even now, like this is a big movie you got with Liam Neeson. I know you have other projects as well. So with all your Hollywood experience, like how do you see the next chapter playing out realistically?
I mean, realistically, I think you, as for what I do as a representative, but also as a producer, is uh, is finding great material. That's the first and foremost. Uh, I think the future is still bright for the business. I do think it ebbs and flows. It's going to continue to ebb and flow. Um, the studios are going to make movies. They're going to continue to make movies, and the independent space, I do think there's opportunities in the independent space that there haven't been for quite some time. There's a lot of money out there to make movies. More distributors are coming online. The A24s of the world, the Neons of the world, the Bleecker Streets, Focus, Searchlight. And I think there's going to be opportunities for artists to create and take the next step and make the next Scorsese or the next Chris Nolan, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's still going to function as it always has. There's
Mm,
going to be downtimes, and maybe we're in a coming out of a downtime right now, but things I think are looking better. There's great television that's happening now. There's great storytelling in that arena. There's podcasts. There's gaming. There's all kinds of areas in the entertainment that are going to
mm,
continue to thrive and and be successful. And I don't see that part of it changing. You do have to adapt
mm.
because there's not as much buying for development as there has been in the past, and we are in a contracting period. I don't think that's going to last forever. It will get better, but it's going to take a little while.
That's a great take. It's very positive, and what I appreciate about you, Rich, I appreciate lots of things about you, but you're not like a booster. You know what I mean? You're not like everything's great all the time. You're a straight shooter. That's how I see you. But you're giving me a pretty good take because you're saying, look, this is temporary. Yes, it's a down period, but better days are ahead. So look, you've got the Mongoose with Liam Neeson and other amazing actors. Do you have any other projects to plug or things you're working on that you can talk about publicly?
Yeah, well, the two ones that I'll mention, they're not really producing because those are the things I gotta. I do have a few things that are in the works. It's just I got to be careful what I say, so I
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
want to speak too
I
much
don't wanna
about
get
that. But
sued, Rich. I don't wanna get
but
sued.
yeah, because yeah, because but I do have a couple client things that I think are interesting. I have a client of mine who wrote Proof, which is the play
Mhm.
that won the Pulitzer Prize and Tony Award many years ago. There's a revival happening currently on Broadway. It stars Io Edeberry and Don Cheadle, and President Obama is the producer of the play. And I was just
Wow.
there for the opening, and it's playing for the next 4 months at the booth theater in New York. So if anybody, if your listeners or people watching are going to New York, check it out. The other one that I have a fairly sizable graphic novel that is going to be out on the market called As I Dream of You, by a woman named Jennifer Lee, who wrote and directed the Frozen movies. So
Wow.
this is we hope is going to be a giant success that will be a movie as well. So those are the two projects that I am speaking a lot about and hoping for success.
Look, Rich, I knew that you were knowledgeable. I didn't know that you ran Hollywood. So this is news to me. But look, I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.
Come back anytime. No, I just appreciate your honesty, your friendship, your positivity, and thank you so much.
My pleasure, Bobby. Good to see you.
Look, not just anyone can work in the top circles of Hollywood like Rich Freeman, but he does show you what's possible. Also, I just loved his optimism. You don't hear that a lot, but Rich's boots on the ground in Hollywood for decades. Pretty exciting. And we'll see you next time on the Spotlight.